Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Introduction to Paralegalism, Perspectives, Problems, and Skills, 9th edition. Chapter 11, narrated by Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. Chapter 11, Computer and Technology in a Law Office. Chapter Introduction. Chapter Objectives. After completing this chapter, you should be able to predict the kind of computer questions a paralegal might be asked in a job interview. Identify the steps you can start taking to develop computer skills on your own. Explain the distinguishing characteristics of computer hardware, operating software, OS, and applications software. Summarize and define the basic terminology associated with the use of computers in the law office. List the major categories of software used in a law office. Describe the examples of the use of software for spreadsheets, database management, presentation graphics, litigation support, case management, and knowledge management. Explain the origins and basic components of the Internet. Demonstrate the techniques of effective search engine searching. Understand the kinds of malware that exist and how to protect against malware. Recognize the major ethical issues that can arise in the use of computers in a law office. What if you started your first job at a small firm that specializes in products liability cases? The firm has been working for 2 years on a case, and finally the opposing side indicated a desire to consider settling. You are handed the file and are tasked with preparing the presentation for the settlement conference. The partner you are working with says to prepare a PowerPoint presentation and a settlement brochure of the client's injuries. An airbag prematurely deployed and caused severe damage to the client's face and upper body. The partner tells you to include at a minimum the history of the client prior to and after the injuries, pictures of the injuries, and summaries of the medical expenses. You have never prepared a PowerPoint or settlement brochure. You have 2 weeks to prepare the draft presentation, and know you need to get started right away by reviewing the file. The next steps will be to determine how to create the PowerPoint and settlement brochure. Where to begin? Computer skills are integral to the practice of law, and often the preparation of projects falls on the paralegal. Even if you are not sure how to perform a particular skill, it is important to know where to find information to learn that skill. This chapter will lay the foundation for the kinds of computer technology you will encounter in the law office setting. It will also guide you where you can locate information on how to learn computer skills that will be used in a law firm or business environment. Understanding what you will encounter on the job is important, with this chapter presenting an overview of the technology and skills you will need to learn. Here we will navigate the law firm technology basics. 11-1 Introduction. Computers dominate many aspects of the practice of law. We saw in Chapter 9 how artificial intelligence (AI) technology has introduced new technology to the legal profession, such as ChatGPT, with mixed results. Regardless of the challenges that the legal profession has faced with advancing technology, computers and related apps, software, and challenges are here to stay. As technology changes, the legal profession must keep up or run the risk of either being left behind or worse, risking challenges to one's competency. By its very nature, the practice of law is steeped in tradition and rules, as we have learned throughout this text. Consequently, the legal profession, including the courts, has lagged behind in embracing technological advances, but the demands of the profession are forcing those who fight the change to adapt or face legal sanctions. The fears of failing to adopt and adapt to new technologies are real for those who are afraid to learn new skills. As we saw in Chapter 6, ethical codes are now mandating change. Attorneys can be disciplined for failing to keep abreast of the benefits and risks associated with relevant technology. Sometimes external events force offices to learn new technology, such as when a court allows or requires the e-filing of pleadings online. Although most attorneys have responded by moving their practices into the 21st century, some remain hesitant, but those fears must be set aside, as being computer literate is now a basic requirement in the practice of law. The benefits of using technology, regardless of the form it takes, assist with all aspects of practicing law. It must be learned and mastered to be a successful member of the law office team. As a paralegal, having a commanding understanding of all aspects of technology cannot be understated, especially in a law environment where attorneys resist new technology. Many attorneys rely on their paralegals to know and teach them how to use technology when preparing, filing, and editing documents. Paralegals are relied upon to assist in electronic discovery and case management. The message that should be loud and clear is that the more you know about technology, the more invaluable you become in the law office. In short, the practice of law continues to be in a state of change because of technology. The best approach of paralegals about to enter or who are already in the legal profession is to become as knowledgeable as possible about computers. In any job interview, don't be surprised if you are asked questions such as the following. What are your computer skills? How skilled are you in Word? What apps are you comfortable with? Which operating systems have you used? Can you prepare an Excel spreadsheet? Do you have any experience with e-discovery software? What litigation support software have you used? These are some of the questions that may be asked in an interview, and it is important that you can provide answers to these questions that either show your familiarity with technology or your ability to learn the technology. These sections that follow in this chapter will lay the groundwork for understanding and comprehending the basics of computers and technology in the law office. Take the time to master the information, as these concepts will be the building blocks for the skills you will need to succeed in a legal profession that has become technology-driven. 11-2 What to do on your own. Now, you can learn a great deal about computers on your own. Don't wait for someone to explain it all to you. Take the initiative by pursuing an aggressive program of self-education. This section presents an overview of steps you can start now and continue after you graduate. Indeed, you will probably need to be a student of computers for the remainder of your career, because computer products are constantly changing. The steps outlined here are all the more important because they are designed to keep you current. These steps include the following: build a notebook, computer terminology in the law, CTL. At the end of Chapter 1, you are asked to start a computer notebook, paper or digital, called Computer Terminology in the Law, CTL. Each chapter in this book has a core computer assignment which requires you to learn or review computer basics and to build the CTL with the terminology that you come across in the process of doing the assignments. It is recommended that you do the assignments, whether they are required for the course. The goal of the CTL is to build an extensive terminology databank. Do not use the CTL to take extensive explanatory or how to do it notes on computer topics. Such notes will quickly overwhelm the notebook. Limit this CTL to definitions of computer software and hardware terminology. Use another notebook for class notes, chapter outlining, etc. Limit the terminology notebook, the CTL to terminology. The core computer assignments after each chapter are not the only way to build the CTL. The steps outlined below duplicate some of these assignments and provide more opportunities. Fill the notebook with definitions of terms you come across in every aspect of the paralegal curriculum. There are computers, dictionaries, and glossaries. In book form and online. Make use of them, but do not use them as a substitute for writing out your own definitions. Another technique for finding definitions is by using a search engine such as Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Type the word define or definition followed by the word or phrase you want defined. Example, define cloud computing. Set aside time. The suggestions below will take time beyond the time required by your coursework. How much time? That depends on you. Ideally, you would devote a minimum of 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week. Too much? Then lessen the time to what is more realistic for you. It is critical, however, that you establish a momentum. Don't wait for the weekend, a vacation, or the end of the school year. The amount of material you need to learn is vast. A daily commitment is needed. Tutorials can be an excellent way to learn new computer skills. YouTube and other sites can provide invaluable information and are tools that should be used when learning a new skill. Online sites such as wikihow.com are also good places to learn how to understand computer basics as well as more advanced areas of the computer field. When performing a search in Google, Bing, or Yahoo, include the word tutorial for the skill you want to learn. A litany of sites will appear for you to explore. For example, if you want to learn about how to store data remotely in a cloud, search for tutorial remote cloud storage. Or if you want to understand how to use Microsoft Word's editing and redlining process, you could search that information online. The possibilities are endless, as well as the abundance of information to assist you in learning and exploring unfamiliar technology. This method can be used for virtually any skill or information you want to understand related to technology or computers generally. Self-learning in the world of computers should occur while you are in school, while you are looking for employment, and while you are employed. As indicated, computer learning is a lifelong endeavor. Once you start finding tutorial sites through the searches, which ones should you select? Begin with the search for Computer Basics tutorial. You want sites that are effective and free. The quality of the sites vary a great deal. Try out different sites. Ask your fellow students what sites they like. Ask your teachers. You will eventually find what you need. 11-2A Courses, Meetings, and Groups. Courses. Take computer courses. Find out what is available at your school. Also check if free or low-cost computer courses exist in your community. Like, for example, adult education courses. Some may last no more than an afternoon. Call your local library. Call your local public library or community colleges for leads. Once you know what is available, ask your instructor what courses would be most relevant to someone working in a law office. Anything on the basics of operating systems, like for example Windows, word processing, like for example Word, or the internet will probably be valuable. Computer events at paralegal associations. Contact your local paralegal association to find out what upcoming events will cover computer use and new technology updates. Check their websites. Refer to Appendix B for what is on the schedule. There may, for example, be a continuing legal education CLE session covering the internet. Ask if you can attend as a paralegal student. If there is a fee, ask if a reduced rate is available for students. Some of the meetings and sessions may be geared to experienced paralegals. Nevertheless, you should consider attending because the more exposure you have to computer topics, the more you will eventually absorb. Take detailed notes, even if you will not fully understand all of them until later. Furthermore, any contact you have with a paralegal association can be an excellent networking opportunity. Computer events at bar associations. Your state and local bar association may also have CLE sessions that cover computer basics for attorneys. Find out if you can attend at a reduced rate. Go to the websites of these associations. Refer to Appendix B to find out what programs are scheduled. 11-3 Review the basics. Before examining specific computer programs, we will briefly review computer essentials that will be helpful in understanding these programs. 11-3A Hardware and software. Hardware is the physical equipment, i.e., important example, devices of a computer system. Hardware is what you take out of the box and plug together when you buy a computer system. Examples include the keyboard, central processing unit, CPU, monitor, cables, mouse, speakers, and printer. Software is a computer program, also called an application or app, that tells the hardware what to do. The central processing unit, CPU, is the computer hardware that contains the processor chip that controls all computer parts. The CPU is the computer brain. The processor chip performs the calculations that are needed for processing tasks. CPUs perform operations and carry out software commands. In most computer systems, the CPU is the unit that contains the on-off button or switch and the ports that are used to connect the computer to other devices. In the past, software came on a CD, but today it is more often available only through an online download. Updates to software are almost always made through downloads, whether the software was purchased on a CD or through an initial download. Most software is subject to a license, which is an agreement that places limitations on the use of the software. For example, the license may specify that the software cannot be used on more than one computer. There are two main categories of software: one, operating software, OS, and two, applications, apps. The operating software, OS, also called the operating system, tells the computer how to perform its major functions, such as starting, executing programs, managing its memory, and controlling printers and other attached devices, peripherals. The OS is the master of central software program that the hardware and all other software depend on to function. When you buy a computer, an OS is already installed. Once you turn on or restart a computer, called booting up, the OS system is the first program that is run or executed. Hardware, a physical equipment of a computer system. Software, a computer program that tells or instructs the hardware what to do. Central processing unit, CPU, the hardware of the computer that contains the processor chip that controls all computer parts. Operating system, OS, software that tells the computer how to perform its major functions, such as starting, executing programs, managing its memory, and controlling printers and other attached devices, peripherals, also called operating system. Application, app, software that performs tasks for an end user other than the major tasks of running the computer itself. The most commonly used apps today are downloaded on mobile devices. Read-only memory, ROM, ROM, memory that stores data that cannot be altered, removed, or added to. The data can be only read by the computer. Random access memory, RAM, memory that stores temporary data that are erased unless properly saved whenever the computer's power is turned off. The major operating system in use today is Windows, developed by Microsoft. Others include Android, iOS, Mac OS, Chrome OS, Unix, and Linux. Software is written in programming language called source code. Most software manufacturers keep their source code secret. If, however, the software source code is freely available to the public for use and modification, the software is called open source software. Linux is a prominent example of open source software. An application, app, is software that performs tasks commonly needed by the consumer or end user. Examples of applications include word processing, spreadsheets, and database management. At one time, the major hardware option for a computer was a stationary desktop. The options have increased dramatically, particularly in the area of mobile devices with wireless communication capability. Major examples include the following. Laptops. A laptop is a portable version of a desktop computer. Laptops can be carried to wherever the user can gain access to the internet, such as at home or Wi-Fi connections. Laptops run the same or similar software as desktops and also have similar hardware. Lighter and thinner categories of laptops are called ultrabooks, netbooks, and sub-notebooks. Table computers. A tablet is a computer that operates mainly by touchscreen rather than by physical keyboard or mouse. The keyboard is on the screen. The tablet may come with a stylus, which is a small pen-shaped tool with which you can tap icons that execute programs, type numbers and letters of the alphabet on a touchscreen keyboard. and make handwritten notes that can be turned into digital text. Windows is the operating system OS of some tablets. For most tablets, however, the OS is Apple's iOS or Google's Android. Examples of tablets include Apple's iPad, Microsoft's Surface, Google's Nexus, and Samsung's Galaxy. If the primary function of the tablet is to read documents, it is an e-book reader, such as Amazon's Kindle. Smartphones. A smartphone is a mobile phone that performs many of the functions of a computer. The device operates by touchscreen. It offers online options, email, text messaging, video, and camera, in addition to voice telephoning. Examples of smartphones include Apple's iPhone, phones that run the Google Android OS, and phones that run the Windows OS. These devices can be taken anywhere and connected to the internet or to the office's network. Technology has allowed attorneys and paralegals to, in effect, bring their office with them so that they can work from home, the courthouse, the airport, or anywhere they can obtain an internet connection. Many attorneys telecommute to some extent, and a high percentage use their smartphone for law-related tasks while away from their primary offices. Smartphones, tablet computers, wireless networks, and cloud computing, discussed below, have made the practice of law more flexible, especially post-pandemic. During the pandemic, we all had to adapt and quickly use our technology in new ways. The physical footprint of today's law firm is shrinking as we see more individuals use hybrid methods of practicing, such as remote home offices along with the standard office-based practices. Many offices are even going completely virtual. By becoming virtual, this allows the solo practitioner in small firms to enhance their practices by serving their clients' needs outside the typical confines of a traditional law office setting. Technology has evened the playing field by allowing smaller practitioners to compete with their larger counterparts. 11-3B Memory. Computers can hold a great deal of data. The internal storage capacity of a computer is called its memory. There are two main kinds of memory: read-only and random access. Read-only memory, ROM, is memory that stores data that cannot be altered, removed, or added to. The data can only be read by the computer. When you shut the computer off, the data in the ROM are not erased. ROM contains critical data such as the code needed to boot the computer. Random access memory, RAM, is memory that stores temporary data. It is the short-term memory. You write data, like for example a letter, to RAM, random access memory. When you shut the computer off, such data vanish unless you have properly saved the data. Newer applications require increasing amounts of RAM. As long as your device has enough RAM, you can run more than one application at the same time, called multitasking. For example, you can simultaneously run a word processor, a spreadsheet, your online connection, and a game of solitaire. How many times has your old phone told you that you need more memory to store information? Without storage, your pictures or videos on your phone or the data will be lost. It is the RAM memory that is inadequate. The amount or quantity of memory is measured by units called bytes. A byte is the storage equivalent of one space or one character of the alphabet typed into a computer. Bytes are expressed in the quantities indicated in Exhibit 11-1. Exhibit 11-1, storage capacities in bytes. Kilobyte, K, megabyte, MB, gigabyte, GB, terabyte, TB, petabyte, PB, exabyte, EB. Online exercise. If you have a smartphone, tablet, iPad, or similar device, determine your storage capacity in bytes. 11-3C, storage systems. Here's a list of the major storage devices. Hard drive. A hard drive is a computer storage device for data that uses rapidly rotating platters inside a sealed casing. If the drive is located inside the CPU, it is called an internal hard drive. If it sits outside the CPU as a freestanding unit, it is called an external hard drive. In many computer systems, the internal hard disk is the C drive. If the system also has an external drive, the latter might be the D drive. Hard drives have read-write capability, meaning that you can read the data on them and write new data to them. If you can read data but not add additional data, the drive has read-only capability. If you can read data but not add additional data, the drive has only read-only capability. External drives are frequently used to back up data on other drives. Removable drive. A removable drive is a portable device used to store data. A major example is the flash drive, also called a thumb drive. You can insert the flash drive into one computer, copy data onto it, remove the drive, insert it into another computer, and transfer the data to the second computer. A common point of entry for removable drives is a USB port on the CPU. USB means Universal Serial Bus, which allows fast connections between a computer and external devices such as flash drives and cameras. A port is a slot into which you can plug a connection. Optical storage device. An optical storage device is a device that uses laser light or beams to write data onto plastic discs. Examples include CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs. Because of the large capacity of these devices, they are often used for movies and other multimedia material. Cloud. The cloud is the part of the internet where users can A, obtain and update programs, apps, and B, read, store, and manage data. Cloud computing means using the internet to obtain, process, and store data. Large companies such as Google, Microsoft, and Dropbox make it possible for users to store vast amounts of data in internet data centers or warehouses, where the data can be accessed from any computer or indeed from a cell phone. A major example of data stored in the cloud is emails created on Gmail and other web-based email programs. 11-3D, input devices. To place information into a computer, you need an input device. The most commonly used input device is the keyboard. When you type something on the keyboard, text is entered at the cursor on the screen of the monitor. Other input devices include the mouse, speech recognition programs, and scanners, all of which can be used along with the keyboard. Speech recognition programs allow you to enter information by speaking rather than by typing on the keyboard. As you speak words and commands into a small microphone, the computer enters the words on the screen or executes the commands. A scanner is an input device that converts text and images into an electronic or digital format that a computer can recognize. The process by which a scanner digitizes text or images is called imaging or document imaging. When a document is scanned into the computer, an exact image of the document appears on the screen, most commonly as PDF portable document format file. The file can be read on a free Adobe Reader. A PDF is an example of a fixed layout format. An alternative to Adobe PDF is Microsoft XPS. If optical character recognition (OCR) software is used, you can perform searches of the text in the scanned document and use a word processor to make changes in the text. Scanners have other uses as well. For example, a barcode can be placed on every document in a large project and then read by a barcode scanner, in which the same way that supermarkets use scanners for purchases at the checkout. A barcode is a sequence of numbers and vertical lines of different shapes that can be read by an optical scanner. The barcode scanner can be effective in helping law offices keep track of multiple documents used by different people in the office. Two other important input devices are the digital camera and the digital camcorder. Images taken by these devices can be easily transferred to the computer and then used in a variety of ways, such as preparing a day-in-the-life trial exhibit in a personal injury case. 11-3E Output devices. Once data is in a computer, you need an output device to receive the data and display it as text, images, sound, or other media. The major output devices are monitors and printers. Another output device is a sound card, which can activate the computer speakers and enhance sound from the computer. An example of an output device is the 3D printer, which can print a three-dimensional solid object from a digital model. The printer can print model buildings, parts for machinery, toys, and even body parts. 11-3F Communication devices. Computers at different locations can exchange data by using communication devices. A modem is a communications device that allows computers to send and receive data to and from each other. The exchange can be through telephone or cable lines. A wireless modem connects through the air and is most often used by smartphones, iPads, and other handheld computers. Wi-Fi, as indicated earlier, uses radio waves to allow wireless communication between computers, including the internet, within a designated area. Other communication devices include digital phone lines such as T1, ISDN, Integrated Services Digital Networks, and DSL, Digital Subscriber Lines. They can transmit text, voice, and real-time video, like, for example, video conferencing at high speeds. Real time means occurring now as you are watching. Suppose, for example, you are online watching a witness answer questions in a deposition in another city. You would be watching in real time if the witness were talking in the room where the deposition was taking place at the same time you were watching this witness on your computer screen in another room or building. If, however, you were watching a deposition that was recorded earlier, you would not be experiencing the deposition in real time. Similarly, you are commuting in real time if what you type on your screen appears on the screens of others as you type. Video conferencing is a meeting that occurs in more than one location among individuals who can hear and see each other on computer screens in real time. 11-3G Local Area Networks LANs, Wide Area Networks WANs. Computers in a busy law office need to be connected with each other for many reasons. They may need to share the same data, like for example a client file, calendars, time and billing records, or the same equipment, like for example a printer. If the computers are relatively close to each other, such as within the same building, they can be connected by a local area network, LAN. Once their computers are connected, i.e., for example, networked, computer users can share calendars, have meetings, exchange email, and work on files together. If the computers are not geographically close, they can still be networked on what is called a wide area network, WAN. Large law offices with branches in different cities, for example, can be linked on a WAN. Computers that are not connected to a network are called standalone computers. 11-3H Intranet and extranet. The networks in law offices might include the equivalent of a mini internet for private internal use. It is called an intranet. The general public would not have access to it. The intranet could give employees access to vacation schedules, court dates of current cases, client databases, current litigation documents, brief banks, and legal forms, staff directories with pictures, personnel manuals, training manuals, and CLE programs available at the office. The employees can be in the same office or similar to a WAN in branch offices around the world. It is possible for the office to allow selected outsiders to have online access to its intranet. Such access converts the intranet to an extranet. For example, the office could permit a client to read all documents prepared for the client that are on the office's intranet. 11-3I Software in a law office. Exhibit 11-2 lists major software programs used in a law office. Some programs are suites or integrated packages that allow the user to perform multiple tasks such as word processing, spreadsheets, calculations, and database management. All of the other major software vendors have websites that provide detailed information about their programs, including the ability to download new features and corrections to errors or bugs in previous versions of the software. Exhibit 11-2 Software used in many law offices. Note, software manufacturers do not all use the same terminology to describe their applications. The functions in some of the following applications overlap. Also, a software package or suite can combine more than one of the applications into a single suite or integrated package that is sold or leased. Adapted from Matthew S. Cornick, Using Computers in the Law, Basic 2013, and Stephen Mandel, Introduction to Computers 3D, ed. 1991. Software function. Software accounting function tracks financial information. Case management combines multiple tasks, often include document tracking. Computer-assisted legal research, CALR, performs legal research. LexisNexis Fast Case conversion utility converts a document format remain intact. PDFs exist. Custom-made software meets specialized needs of particular offices. Here's a closer look at 7 of the programs outlined in Exhibit 11-2. Word processing, spreadsheets, database management, presentation graphics, litigation support, case management, knowledge management. Legal research sites are covered in Chapter 9. Word processing. A word processor is a software program that allows you to enter and edit data in order to create and revise documents. Word processors are enormous improvements over standard typewriters. When you make an error on a word processor, for example, you do not reach for a bottle of correction fluid, whiteout, to take out the error. Instead, you simply press the backspace or delete key over the error and type your new text. If you left something out of a paragraph, you point the cursor to where the additional text should go and insert what you want to add. When you are in insert mode, the line can open up to make room for the next text. See Exhibit 11-3 for the definition of insert mode and other standard features of word processors. With relative ease, you can copy, save, and paginate. Insert page numbers on your text, insert footnotes or endnotes, underline or italicize text, and create tables or charts. Word processing programs allows you to spell check and grammar check your writing. Be careful, however, when using spell checkers. They do not check for correct word usage. For example, if you write "it's," the spell checker would not tell you that you should have written "it's." Similar cautions are needed when using grammar check programs. They can help point out difficulties you should address, but they are not comprehensive and not always correct. Exhibit 11-3, Word Processing Terms and Functions. Note: many of the terms below are also used in other programs such as spreadsheets. Adapted from Stephen Mandel, Introduction to Computers 3D, ed. 1991, and Matthew S. Cornick, Use Computers in the Law, 6th edition, 2012. Quick tip: think before you accept a suggested correction through a spell or grammar check. What the program is suggesting may not be correct or applicable. Read and review the suggested change or correction before you accept it. Ignore or reject it where appropriate. Justification and indents. If you want to justify your margins, the word processor will allow you to do so quickly. In the language of printers and typesetting, Justification means every line is even. Like, for example, aligned. At the left margin, at the right margin, or at both margins. Lines are aligned if they come out even, as opposed to being ragged. At the margin, left justified means that every line on the left margin is aligned, except for the first line of the paragraph, if the first line is indented. Right justified means that every line on the right margin is aligned, except for the first line, if it ends before the margin. Full justification means that every line of the paragraph is aligned on both margins, with the possible exception of the first and last lines. See Exhibit 11-4 for examples of justification in various indentation formats. Exhibit 11-4, justification and indents using a word processor. Quick tip: learn how your supervisor or those you work with prefer their documents styled. Most attorneys have a specific way they want documents presented with the justified margins. A good rule is to ask how the attorney prefers documents prepared that will save time when drafting a document. Macros: one of the special features of word processors and of other programs is the ability to create macros that allow you to perform repetitive automated tasks without extensive retyping. Suppose, for example, that when you prepare a letter, you always type a heading at the top of the sheet containing your name, street, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, and email. As you type the heading, you carefully center each line. Assume that this task consists of 100 keystrokes and takes about 2 minutes to complete. An alternative is to create a macro to perform the task. Within the word processor's macro feature, you go through the steps of creating a macro. First, you name the macro. Let's call our example heading. Next, you type the repetitive text, all 100 strokes. You have now created a macro called heading. From now on, every time you are preparing a new letter, you simply tell the word processor to run the heading macro. This is done by typing or clicking the word heading within the macro feature of the word processor. In less than a second, all 100 keystrokes appear on the screen in the format you want. In addition to being a time saver, this macro ensures that all of your letters will have a perfectly consistent heading. Here's another example. Suppose you are typing a memorandum of law that frequently uses the phrase federal subject matter jurisdiction. To avoid constantly retyping this phrase, you could create a macro called FSMJ, or you could call it F. Now, every time you run the FSMJ macro, the F macro, if you used the shorter name, the full phrase automatically goes into your memorandum wherever you want it to appear. Macros can be quite versatile. Within a macro, for example, you can also insert commands such as to save the document or insert a number from another software application. Word, WordPerfect, and free alternatives. The two main word processors that can be purchased are Word by Microsoft and WordPerfect by Corel. Word is the most popular. Both Word and WordPerfect have features or additions that are geared to specific needs of attorneys in the practice of law. For example, they assist you in creating a table of authorities, TOA. This is a list of primary and secondary authority referred to, and a document with the page number where each authority is cited in the document. See Chapter 10 for an example. As an extra service to attorneys, Microsoft has prepared an online guide to how law offices can effectively use Word in the practice of law. An important skill in Microsoft Word to master is the Track Changes feature. This feature assists in showing changes, edits, and corrections to a legal document that is being prepared. The Track Changes feature is located on the toolbar under Review. To access the Track Changes feature, click on Review and Tracking, and click on the icon that says Track Changes. Clicking will activate the feature. Track Changes must be turned on for use and will reveal any changes to the document in a different color, font. Track Changes must be turned on for use and will reveal any changes to the document in a different color font than the original document. That is how you can see where and who made the change. That is how you can see where and who made the track changes. When reviewing the track changes, you can accept or reject the change, which again is selected under the Track Changes feature. Another feature in the Review tab is the Comment feature, which permits you to add in a comment balloon to include questions, suggestions, or any other information that you may not want to directly insert into the document, but want to convey to the reviewer. Track Changes is an essential feature to master as a legal profession. See Exhibit 11-5 for a sample of what the toolbar looks like after. See Exhibit 11-5 for a sample of what the toolbar looks like, and Exhibit 11-6 follows a document with track changes corrections. Notice the underlining of the track changes to distinguish it from the other text within the document along with the color change and the font type. Exhibit 11-5 toolbar showing track changes feature. Exhibit 11-6, example of track changes in a document. Free word processors are also available. Some available alternatives to Word and WordPerfect are Google Docs, ClickUp Docs, and LibreOffice Writer. Online exercise. To find the latest version of the Microsoft Word Guide, type Legal User's Guide for Word in Google, Bing, or Yahoo. To find comparable help for law offices that use WordPerfect, search for WordPerfect Law Office User Guide. PDF files and e-filing. Word processors such as Microsoft Word allow you to convert their files into PDF portable document format files. As we saw earlier, a PDF file is an electronic image of a document that preserves the features and styles of the document, like, for example, its line spacing, photograph placement, font, and point size. That existed before it was converted into a digital document. Another method of converting word processed documents into PDF files is by using software such as Acrobat, made by Adobe. Learn how your supervisor or those you work with prefer their documents styled. Most attorneys have a specific way they want documents presented with the justified margins. A good rule is to ask how the attorney prefers documents prepared. That will save time when drafting a document. The conversion to PDF is essential for courts that allow or require e-filing in PDF format. As we will see in Chapter 14, e-filing in federal courts is called case management and electronic case filing, CM and ECF. Documents filed in federal court are PDF files. Having a working knowledge of the system is important, especially if you are in the litigation arena. However, as an attorney found out the hard way, cutting a deadline too close on the CM and ECF system when problems arise in the filing may result in the court rejecting the filing, even if the filing was 16 minutes late. State Bank of Southern Utah vs. Beal, 2022 U.S. APP Lexus 34418, 2022 WL 1766 1140. 10th Circuit 2022 shows us the importance of mastering court filing programs, the importance of giving yourself sufficient time to perform a filing task, the importance of giving yourself extra time for filing glitches, and the importance of not filing too close to a deadline. Order of the court, a case study, State Bank of Southern Utah vs. Beal, United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit 2022 U.S. APP Lexus 34418, 2022. WL 17661140, 10th Circuit 2022. This is a bankruptcy case where the attorney attempted to file a document too close to a filing deadline, had computer problems, missed the deadline, compromised a client's rights, and had the court reject his late filing. Such was the case for attorney Stephen Call in State Bank of Southern Utah vs. Beal. State Bank of Utah had loaned Mr. Beal money for which he defaulted in the payment. Because of debts, Beal filed bankruptcy, and the bank sought to prevent Beal from discharging the debt in that case. In order to do so, the bank had to file a complaint with the bankruptcy court by midnight on Monday, April 22, 2019. The bank's attorney, Mr. Call, was a registered filer with the court's ECF system. The implication was that he had an understanding of how to use the system. Call began filing the complaint on April 22nd at 11:40 p.m. As the court noted, Call began drafting the complaint that day, including preparing exhibits. When Call entered the ECF system, he was led through a series of screens that prompted questions to be answered in order to file the complaint. The court, in its opinion, stated that Call was required to enter basic information about the case. However, Call stated that the system malfunctioned, causing him to miss the filing deadline. Call stated that there was a malfunction where he had to insert the amount in dispute. He claimed that he attempted many combinations without success, using up precious time before the midnight deadline. He eventually entered a number that worked and continued his filing. However, the court, in an evidentiary hearing, brought in staff familiar with the functions of the ECF system and stated to the court that the system did not malfunction and the instructions were clear. Call just did not follow the prompts correctly. The staff member stated that you could not include a $sign, a comma, or a period. The staff also testified about the help desk and how there were trainings for attorneys in the system. The court found that Call may have panicked due to being an inexperienced filer. Thus, the court was not sympathetic to Call's filing issue and found no malfunction in the system. The next issue that Call identified was problems in paying the filing fee. Apparently, Call had issues finding the page to pay the filing fee. For the court, the lack of familiarity with the ECF system caused the problems, not the system itself. Because of all the malfunctions of the system, Call did not file his complaint until 12:16 a.m. on April 23rd, a day late. What Call did not realize was that he was not promised to pay before the court accepted the filing. The next morning, his assistant was able to pay the filing fee at 11. The next morning, his assistant was able to pay the filing fee at 8:59 a.m. Call attempted to argue that he began the filing on April 22nd, and that was sufficient to show that he filed timely. Based on the evidence presented, the court did not accept Call's interpretation as filing was complete and effectuated when accepted by the system. That was on April 23rd. Call's arguments failed, and the federal appellate court found that the bankruptcy court properly found that the bank missed its filing deadline, despite all the arguments about computer malfunctions. Discussion questions examined State Bank of Southern Utah versus Beal. What information did the court rely on in reaching its decision? Why were the footnotes in the case important in the court's decision? What additional reasons did the court state as to why it did not find the bank's favor? What lessons were learned from the case? Analyze this. State Bank of Southern Utah versus Beal, 2022 U.S. APP Lexus 34418, 2022 WL17661140, 10th Circuit 2022, focused on a filing that was 16 minutes late. Compare with Sanders versus Commissioner, 2023 U.S. Tax CT Lexus 2827, 160 TC number 16, Tax CT, June 20th, 2023, where the filing was 11 seconds late. Was the reasoning of the court the same? What were the differences between the cases? Were the results fair? Quick tip. When you are converting a Word document into a PDF, make sure your conversion is exactly the same as the original Word version. Sometimes the conversion will inadvertently adjust the documents, and thus the Word document and PDF may not match. This is particularly important when filing documents with a court, especially when a hard copy also is required by the rules. Spreadsheets. A spreadsheet application is a software program that performs calculations on numbers and values that you enter. Spreadsheets can perform many kinds of number crunching tasks, such as calculating future damages, tax liability, alimony, child support, lost wages, and mortgage payments. The spreadsheet lets you create many groups of interrelated numbers within a series of rows and columns. Once this is done, you can play what if by changing one of the numbers to see what happens to the result. The spreadsheet will quickly recalculate all numbers that are dependent on the one that was changed. Suppose, for example, you are considering a loan to purchase a building and want to know what the monthly payments will be. Among the factors that will determine the amount of these payments are the interest rate, length of the mortgage, and amount of the loan. Entering these three numbers into a spreadsheet will give you the amount of the monthly payments. You can then change one or more of the numbers, like for example, enter a lower interest rate to see what happens to the monthly payments. What if calculations can also be used in settlement negotiations? In a structured settlement, for example, the payment of damages will be spread over a period of time rather than paid in a lump sum. To calculate what these payments will be, the attorneys must make certain assumptions about the rate of inflation over this period. A spreadsheet will allow the attorneys to try different assumptions in order to see what impacts they would have on the amounts to be paid over the period. Spreadsheets programs such as Microsoft Excel, Apple's numbers can create charts, Spreadsheet programs such as Microsoft Excel and Apple's numbers can create charts, like for example a pie chart, that graphically illustrate the results of these calculations. There are free alternatives to Excel. Excel and similar programs do not have to be used solely for calculations. They also can be used to track your cases, create cells for each of your subject areas with case numbers, deadlines, assignments, and comments. It is an excellent way to manage your cases and have updated information at the stroke of a key.
See Exhibit 11-7 for an example of an Excel spreadsheet used for case management. Exhibit 11-7, example of spreadsheet for case management. Assigned case caption, case type, venue. Shows the date. It shows the style, the name of the case and the two parties, the type of case, and the venue. Database management. Database management is software that allows you to organize, search, retrieve, and or sort data. Database management is software that allows you to organize, search, retrieve, and sort data. Such programs are sometimes called database management systems, DBMS. For example, a law office can create a database containing a list of all of its past and present clients. Within this database, the categories of data for each client could include the following:
client's name, street address, phone, email address, Facebook site, website, type of case, case number, name of opponent, names of other parties. Client's name, street address. Client's name, street address, phone, email address, Facebook site, website, type of case, case number, name of opponent, names of other parties, dates representation was provided, attorney who brought the case to the firm, fees and expenses billed, dates bills were sent out, dates payments were received, realization rate. This database will allow the firm to accomplish a number of useful tasks. For example, it can check for possible conflicts of interest. When the firm is considering a new client, it must find out if the firm has ever represented the opponent of the prospective client. One way to find out is to search that opponent's name in the firm's client database. For an example of conflicts checking by computer, see Chapter 6. In addition, the database in our example can quickly generate a list of all probate and estate clients in order to send them a mailing on a new tax law. Generate a list of every case that the firm closed in 2023. Generate a list of every client who has bills that have not been paid for more than 60 days since they were sent. Name the attorney who brought in clients with the largest billing totals in 2023. Major database software used by law firms includes Microsoft's Access and MySQL. Presentation graphics. In many settings, a law office must communicate a client's version of the facts. For example, during negotiations with the opposing counsel or in a closing argument before a jury. An attorney may want to demonstrate an injured plaintiff's loss of income for the months immediately after the accident, the expenses of a parent seeking sole custody of a child in a divorce case, the share of the market controlled by a company accused of antitrust violations, the chemical components of a lake into which a manufacturing plant allegedly dumped pollutants over a 10-year period. The attorney can use presentation graphics, also called business graphics, to help communicate such facts forcefully by combining text with charts, graphs, video, clip art, and sound.
In a courtroom,
A trial judge will probably allow an attorney to use a laptop computer to project charts or graphs as a slideshow on a large screen in front of the jury to demonstrate the costs of caring for a particular child. For example, the attorney could prepare a pie chart that uses different colors and fonts to illustrate the percentage of the budget that each expense consumes. Visually appealing graphics of this kind can be very effective, particularly in cases where the facts are numerous and relatively complicated. The use of presentation graphics programs is not limited to litigation. A law office manager might use the software to report on expenses, billable hours, fee collection, cash flow, and other budget matters to a committee of senior partners. The software can also be effectively used by speakers at seminars or by instructors in office training programs. For examples of computer-generated charts and graphs, see Chapter 5. Major presentation graphics software used in law offices includes Microsoft's PowerPoint and Corel's presentations. PowerPoint creates presentations through the use of a slideshow. You can add text, images, graphics, videos, and more to a presentation for any particular purpose. It is an effective way to communicate information to any group or audience and is user-friendly. Corel's presentations is similar to PowerPoint. Corel's presentations is similar to PowerPoint in that it is an easy-to-use software program to create slideshow presentations. Both programs have guides for their use as well as video tutorials on how to use and create a presentation. Our facts from the beginning of the chapter indicate that our paralegal must prepare a PowerPoint presentation. This suggests that more than likely the Office word processing program is Microsoft Word. A good place to start would be to search in the help box on Word or search in Google, Bing, or Yahoo to find out how to begin working through a presentation on PowerPoint. Search for how to use PowerPoint or creating a PowerPoint presentation. You also search for tips in creating a PowerPoint presentation to get started. Review tutorials on YouTube or other sites for the basic components of creating a PowerPoint presentation. Analyze this using either PowerPoint or presentations. Determine the procedure for creating a presentation. Identify the process and save to your computer notebook. Create a presentation of these steps for researching an assignment. Litigation support. Lawsuits often involve numerous documents. Examples include the following: correspondence, memoranda, transcripts of depositions, interrogatories, answers to interrogatories, requests for admission, RFA, responses to requests for admissions, requests for production of documents, RFP, responses to requests for production of documents, medical reports, investigation reports, complaints, answers, motions, briefs, business records. In complex litigation on issues of product liability, consumer fraud, and environmental law, the quantity of documents can be enormous. In a tobacco case, for example, the attorney representing Lorillard Tobacco Company told the court Lorillard had produced approximately 1.8 million pages of documents in this lawsuit. If you were to take those documents and stack them one on top of the other, they would be 666 feet high. That's the equivalent of a 66-story office building. Whether a case is small or large, litigation support software can be of great assistance.
The software stores, retrieves, and tracks facts, documents, testimony, and other litigation materials. A major advantage of the software is the time it can save when you are searching for information in documents, particularly when you need to search the full text, i.e., important example, every word of those documents. In a medical malpractice case, for example, suppose you wanted to locate every document In a medical malpractice case, for example, suppose you wanted to locate every document in the litigation that mentions Dr. Daniel Summers, one of the primary witnesses in the case. If the full text of every document is in the computer database, you would conduct a full text search of these documents. The software would search every word in every document to find those that mention Dr. Daniel Summers. Of course, to be able to conduct such searches, the complete text of every document must be in the database. The primary method of entering complete documents is scanning. If entering the full text of every document is not practical because of the time needed to scan the documents, the office can create summaries or abstracts of every document and then conduct a search of these abstracts. The search would find every document whose abstract mentioned Dr. Daniel Summers. Paralegals are sometimes assigned the task of creating and entering these abstracts. Alternatively, the office might hire document coders to create and enter abstracts. If computers were not available, these searches would have to be done manually, reading line by line. One study by a bar association found that a manual search of 10,000 documents took 67 paralegal hours and produced 15 relevant documents, while the same search conducted with litigation support software took a few seconds and produced 20 relevant documents. In large cases, special software is available to sort through vast quantities of information, referred to as big data, to find relevant documents. For example, an office might use predictive coding, which is a method of training software to find data that meets defined parameters. As we will see in Chapter 14, predictive coding begins with a manual review by a person who looks for specified data. Soon the program picks up patterns of what data is sought and is able to continue the search on its own based on what it learned from the manual searches. Soon the program picks up patterns of what data is sought and is able to continue the search on its own based on what it learned from the manual searches. Case management. Case management software combines multiple tasks in the control and management of a case. The tasks often include calendaring, document control, document assembly, document tracking, and billing. Time is at the center of most of these tasks. A law office cannot practice law without managing the clock with precision. Representing clients often involves numerous appointments and deadlines. The calendar is filled with scheduled interviews, strategy meetings, negotiating sessions, hearing dates, and filling deadlines. For example, the date of a client meeting, the date of a meeting with opposing counsel to discuss settlement options, the date a lease must be renewed, the date a stock option must be exercised, the date a complaint must be filed, the date a complaint must be filed, the number of days within which the answer to the complaint must be filed, the number of days within which answers to interrogatories must be served, the date of a deposition, the date of a trial, the number of days within which an appeal of a judgment must be filed, the date client bills are due. Case management software is designed to help a law office meet these and related commitments. Any system that reminds the office of important dates is called a tickler. It prods or tickles the memory about what must be done by certain dates. The consequences of missed deadlines can be devastating. A nightmare of every plaintiff's attorney, for example, is the dismissal of an action because the failure to file a complaint before the statute of limitations bars the action. A nightmare of every defendant's attorney is the entry of a default judgment because of a failure to file an answer to the complaint within the time allotted by law. Surprisingly, such devastating lapses are not uncommon. When an insurance company is considering an application for malpractice insurance by a law firm, one of the primary concerns of the company is whether the firm has effective case management systems in place for calendar control. Calendar control issues were front and center in D'Angelo vs. Vanguard Group, Inc., 2023, U.S. District, Lexus 11210, 2023, WL 361788, EDPA 2023. In that case, the attorney blamed Google Calendar, his calendar control system, for a missed deadline. If that excuse doesn't work, let's blame our new paralegal. That is the theme in the D'Angelo case, and, as we will see, the court was not having it. Order of the court, a case study, D'Angelo vs. Vanguard, Inc., United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, 2023, U.S. District, Lexus 11210, 2023, WL 361788, EDPA 2023. In D'Angelo vs. Vanguard, we examine the use of computer technology in the law office setting. Here, an attorney calendared an appeal deadline in Google Calendar. Here, an attorney calendared an appeal deadline in Google Calendar. An order was issued on November 10, 2022, by a court which attorney Carson, plaintiff's counsel, wanted to appeal. The filing deadline for the appeal was 30 days from the date of order. The last filing date was December 12, 2023, as the 30th day fell on a weekend and the rules provide that the filing can be on the next business day. The filing date was documented on Google Calendar for December 12th. Meetings occurred between attorney Carson and his paralegals where cases were discussed, including the D'Angelo case where the appeal had to be filed. Carson was reminded on various occasions of the December 12th deadline to file the appeal. However, somehow, inexplicably, Google Calendar had the date to file the appeal as December 13th, even though Carson knew that the appeal had to be filed by December 12th. He filed it on December 13th. Late. Carson first blamed a glitch in Google Calendar for the late filing. When that did not work, he blamed the new paralegal who changed the calendaring date, causing the late filing. Carson and his two paralegals testified at a hearing before the court detailing the chronology of events leading to the late filing of the appeal. The court determined that Carson was not a credible witness as he shifted the blame from an undefined Google Calendar error, which he never double-checked, to then blaming his newly hired paralegal, who credibly swore she never changed a calendar date. The court had to consider whether the late filing was excusable neglect or a good cause, which would permit extending the 30-day deadline. The court examined the case law from the U.S. Supreme Court and the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, citing the criteria to consider when determining whether excusable neglect or good cause was present. The criteria are: 1. Whether the other party would be prejudiced by an extension; 2. The length of the delay and its effect on the judicial proceedings; 3. The reason for the delay, including whether the tardy party had reasonable control over it; and 4. Whether the tardy party acted in good faith, ID at 16-17. Applying these criteria, the court found nothing that was identified as a reason or excuse for the delay was reasonable or credible. Applying these criteria, the court found nothing that was identified as a reason or excuse for the delay was reasonable or credible. The fact that Carson knew the deadline, as exhibited by conversations, meetings, and notes, solidified the court's conclusion that an extension of the appeal deadline was not warranted. Discussion questions. Review D'Angelo v. Vanguard. Why did the court present such detailed factual findings in the case? What significant cases did the court rely upon in reaching its decision? To which case did the court cite and apply its reasoning that was similar to Carson's case? What facts persuaded the court to deny the request to extend the filing deadline on appeal? What lessons were learned from the D'Angelo case? In addition to calendar control, the software can also store related information such as email and street addresses, organize to-do lists, perform billing functions, and manage email. Knowledge management. As you can see, law offices generate large quantity of documents. All of these documents contain what attorneys sell: knowledge. The intellectual property of a law firm is its vast collection of briefs, memoranda, pleadings, deposition, and trial transcripts, contracts, corporation and banking instruments, wills, trusts, estate plans, government applications, checklists, form files, manuals, emails, reports, etc. Too often, however, once these documents are generated and used, they become an untapped resource. When the office completes work on a client's case, the file gets stored away and everyone moves on to the next client. There may be no systematic way to tap into and reuse prior work, product, and current cases. For example, a document created for a real estate case in 2018 might be relevant to the case of a corporate client in 2023. Yet, the attorneys and paralegals working on the 2023 case may never find out about the 2018 document. This is all the more true if they are working in a branch office that is hundreds of miles away from the office that generated the 2018 document. Consequently, wasteful reinvention of the wheel can occur on a regular basis. Brief banks are helpful. They contain copies of old appellate briefs and related documents that can be used as models and adapted for current cases. But not all law office documents are in brief banks, and the banks are not smoothly integrated into the everyday operation of the office. More effective systems are needed to tap into the vast knowledge pool generated in hundreds of thousands of documents over the years. Such systems are being created as computers become more sophisticated. These systems are called knowledge management, KM. KM is a system for linking into the knowledge base of a law office that is embodied in the documents generated by all of the cases handled by the office. The goal is to be able to use this knowledge so that the office can better meet the needs of current and prospective clients. KM is a way to avoid starting every case from scratch. Many companies produce KM software, and the type of software used is dependent on the needs of the law firm or company. Let's focus on our facts again from the beginning of the chapter. Part of the paralegal's assignment was to create a settlement brochure to deliver to the opposing party. Not knowing what one looks like or where to begin, a good starting point would be to check to see if there are examples of settlement brochures in the office. You could do a computer search in the firm's electronic files or in a document bank. If the firm is more advanced, they may have knowledge management software that will assist in finding samples of a brochure that can be followed. Remember, you should ask others in the firm for guidance, especially if this is the first time you have prepared this kind of assignment. You have the skills, you just have to know where to look. This will get you started in the right direction for the assignment. (11-4) Introduction to the Internet. Hundreds of millions of people around the world use the Internet and mostly self-governing network of networks. Hundreds of millions of people around the world use the Internet, a mostly self-governing network of networks, popularly known as the information superhighway, on which users can share information. A network is two or more computers or other devices that are connected by telephone lines, fiber optic cables, satellites, or other systems in order to share hardware, software, messages, media, and other data. These different networks can communicate with each other because they all follow a set of specifications called protocols that make the communication possible. 11-4A, Connecting to the Internet. To connect to the Internet, you need a company or organization that provides access called an Internet Service Provider, ISP, like for example, AT&T, Comcast, or other providers. Once connected, most of your time will be spent online, also called the web. The web is a system of sites using hypertext to enable you to display and link information in different locations on the same site or on different sites. When you are on a website, you will see the words, pictures, or buttons that are highlighted in some way, often with the use of color or underlining. If the words, pictures, or buttons on a site are highlighted, i.e., important example, hypertexted, you can click on them and you will be taken to another section of the site or to a different site. The program that allows you to read pages online is called a web browser. The most popular browsers are Chrome, Edge, formerly Explorer, Safari, and Firefox. 11-4B, Internet addresses. The address of a resource or any page online is called the Uniform Resource Locator, URL. Here is an example of a URL. http://www.loc.gov. HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. As we saw earlier, the protocol is the set of specifications
or standards that allow computers to communicate with each other, because most browsers assume you are using the HTTP protocol. You do not need to type HTTP semicolon //. After the protocol in our URL example comes the address of the server, www.loc.gov, on which the resource is located. A server is a computer program that provides resources or services, like, for example, access to data, to other computers. Typing the address of the server will usually lead you to its opening page. The home page is also called the start page. The last three letters of the server address .gov are the domain name or identifier, which indicates the category or type of server. Our example www.loc.gov will lead you to a government agency, the Library of Congress, LOC. Here are the original categories of domain names: .com, commercial entity; .gov, government office; .org, organization, often nonprofit; .edu, educational institution; .mil, military institution; .net, network provider. Many more specific categories are being added, like, for example, church, hotel, NYC; .church, .hotel, .nyc. After the URL's server name, you may find additional characters. For example, www.loc.gov/law/index.php. The additional characters /law/index.php bypass the home page and take you directly to specific documents, images, or links available on the site. When you type in a long address, you will occasionally find that no results or hits are produced. You may get a message telling you that your search did not match any documents. You may be trying to access a site that no longer exists, or that no longer exists at the address you are using. Before giving up, check the exact spelling of the address you typed. Make sure that the slashes were correctly typed. / should not be typed as in that you have not added any spaces to the address. If your address is still unproductive, remove everything from the address except the beginning of the address up to the domain name. Hence, www.loc.gov /law/index.php becomes www.loc.gov. This will bring you back to the home page. On this page, you may find links that will lead you to what you are looking for, or you may find a search option on the home page in which you can try some new search terms. Quick tip: entering www. is usually not required now when attempting to access a website. Simply type in the name followed by domain category, such as uscourts.gov or naag.org. Let 11-4C, email. Email, electronic mail, is a message sent electronically. When you obtain an internet account, you are given an email address that will allow you to communicate with millions of people in the world who also have an email address. Many law offices purchase Outlook, a Microsoft software application that is part of its Office suite. Outlook manages the flow of email and provides storage folders, address directories, and ways to divert unwanted email spam. The general public is more inclined to use Gmail, the free email program of Google, or the email programs of other giant companies such as Yahoo. A major advantage of email is that you can include attachments that can contain text, sound, images, or video. There are usually limits, however, on the size of an email or attachment that can be sent. A message with high-resolution photos attached, for example, or even a short video attachment may be too large. Email programs allow you to create multiple folders in which you can store messages that have been read or that will be read later. Such folders, however, can quickly become clogged with a large volume of messages. Hence, many offices transfer their client-related email messages into the records department or another unit of the office where they can be safely stored and searched as needed. In Chapter 5 and 6, we examine the ethical requirement of a law office to preserve client records, usually for a designated time after the case is closed. This rule applies to emails that pertain to client cases. As we will see in Chapter 14, e-discovery requires parties to turn over email messages that are potentially relevant to litigation. A litigation hold is designed to prevent the destruction of such data. Quick tip: if you are sending documents regardless of the size, be sure to confirm receipt. Some systems reject documents from certain senders or providers, especially in the government context. Sometimes an email telling you of the failure to transmit the document will be received. Other times you will receive nothing. Don't assume documents were received. Verify, or you may be responsible for a missed deadline because of non-receipt, even though you attempted to send the documents. Analyze this. You have received an email with a file attachment. What is the process for opening the attachment and downloading the document to your computer or laptop? Place the procedure in your computer notebook. 11-4D. Instant messaging. Email messages can take several seconds, minutes, or longer to reach the intended recipients. Instant messaging, IM, on the other hand, is electronic communication in real time, usually on smartphones and other handheld mobile devices. IMs, like emails, can contain text, images, short videos, and various hyperlinks. 11-4E. Electronic mailing lists. An electronic mailing list, often referred to as listserv, is a program that manages computer mailing lists automatically. These lists consist of individuals interested in receiving and sending email to each other on a topic of mutual interest. To become a member of a list, you send an email to its administrator asking to join. Thousands of topics are covered on the lists, like, for example, travel, higher education, hobbies, and yoga. Numerous legal lists cover a large variety of law and law-related topics, like, for example, bankruptcy, law office management, job hunting, paralegals, and the law of a particular state. Once you have subscribed to a list, you can read the comments, questions, and replies sent by everyone else on the list. By reading these messages, you can keep abreast of developments in the subject matter of the group. Here are examples of the kinds of questions that might be posted on different electronic mailing lists. On a paralegal list, a paralegal asks, "I'm thinking about taking NALA's certification exam, CLA/CP, NFPA's certification exam, PACE, or NALS's certification exam, PP. Can any of you help me with a comparison of these legal? Can any of you help me with a comparison of these paralegal tests? A paralegal member of a California real estate list asks, we have a client who bought and sold land in Georgia in 1985. I'm trying to find a copy of the standard purchase agreement used by the Georgia Association of Real Estate Agents in the 1970s before they substantially changed the format of the contract. Georgia people, can you help me? I'd appreciate it. Help. At the beginning of the week, a New York attorney, in immediate need of locating Mississippi regulations on nursing homes, sends out the following urgent email to the members of their list. I'm looking for the Mississippi Department of Health regulations on nursing homes. I didn't find them on Westlaw, LexisNexis, or on the free sites. The department tells me it can supply them until Friday. Anyone willing to send me a copy as an email attachment? Depending on the number of members in the list served, you could receive scores of replies. Many members who have had their questions answered send "thanks for saving my life" messages to the group. Even if you do not send any questions yourself, you will probably find it instructive and fun to read the questions and answers others are sending to each other on topics that are relevant to your work. (11-4F) Social media. Social media refers to websites that allow users to engage in different kinds of interaction or networking with each other, such as by posting information about themselves and their interests, and commenting on what others post. The exchange among the users creates a kind of virtual community centered on shared likes and dislikes. In the early days, the main function of the internet was to provide users with information. In the next stage of internet development, users interact with the site and each other in building the information that is shared. To a large extent, the next phases of the internet consist of popular add-your-own content sites. Later in the chapter, we will identify ways to check the reliability of social media and other sites. Kinds of social media. Social networking interact with people of similar backgrounds and interests by making friends or business connections. Examples: Facebook.com, LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com. Collaborative sites interact by helping to build a body of knowledge on topics of interest. Examples: Wikipedia, Wikipedia.com, Wikia.com. Blogs interact by commenting on specific topic of the blog. Interact by commenting on the specific topic of the blog. A blog is an online journal or diary on any topic of interest to the blogger, writer of the blog. Sometimes called a blog, BLAWG. If the topic of the blog, BLOG, is mainly legal, directories of blogs include ABA, abajournal.com/BLAWGS, and Justia, JUSTIA. blogsearch.justia.com/BLOGS. Microblogs interact by participating in blogs that allow short posts.
The main example is X, formerly known as Twitter, twitter.com. Social photo and video sharing. Interact by posting, uploading pictures and video clips, labeling, tagging the posts, and commenting on the posts of others. Examples: Flickr, flickr.com, Instagram, instagram.com, Pinterest, pinterest.com, YouTube, youtube.com, Vimeo, vimeo.com. News networking, social news. Interact by sharing, voting on, and commenting on articles or stories of interest. Examples: Reddit, reddit.com, CNN, cnn.com, HuffPost, huffpost.com. Ratings and reviews. Interact by recommending services and products and commenting on the recommendations of others. Examples: Yelp.com, citysearch.com, Angie's List, Angie.com. Social media and its changing landscape. Social media sites come and go, change name, lose favor, and generally exist because of popularity. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, most had never heard of a social media site known as TikTok, and now its popularity has raised political and national security concerns. One state, Wyoming, has banned TikTok from being downloaded to new users in that state as well as on state government websites. Instagram is another popular social media site where pictures and videos are posted and shared with its users. Twitter originally was conceived as a quick means to follow the individuals in 140 characters or less. Now that has changed to 10,000 characters as well as its name to X. The point of this exercise is that social media is constantly changing and constantly in flux. What is popular one day can be erased in a blink of an eye. What was conceived as a means for Harvard students to share information about themselves and post pictures and meet other people, Facebook has developed and emerged to not only a social connecting site, but also an advertising, informational, and political influencer that most would not have received at the time of its birth. Social media can be an effective tool in the legal profession, and, as we have seen, also can be an effective weapon in the litigation context. Social media gives us a peek into people's lives and experiences, which is ripe for discovering information about past, present, and future activities. Today's Facebook and Twitter are tomorrow's Threads and X. They are all challenging and evolving into the next social media trend and the next best thing. Think TikTok. Know that as legal professionals, it is important to monitor social media and its trends online, not only for case information, but also for means of connecting with clients, potential clients, and the public. It is shown that certain age groups use certain social media sites, so knowing what is current or trending for a group may be helpful in gaining new business. Watch the trends and influencers on social media to see what the next best thing will be. And for as long as that lasts, know that there is a new next best thing. Waiting in the wings, social media is all about change, and sites will think will always be there. Social media is all about change, and sites we think will always be there may be replaced by something new. One thing we can count on with the internet is that it will always be dynamic and moving in some new direction. Keeping up with the internet and computer technology is a critical component of all our jobs. Recall when Facebook was not part of our social existence. No, think Twitter, now X. Think Twitter, now X. Here today and gone tomorrow.
11-4G alerts. Some sites let you sign up for email alerts that notify you of new content. An example is Google Alerts, googlealerts.com/alerts. Alerts can be useful in a job search. Suppose, for example, you are interested in working for Garvey, Foley, and Adams. In addition to checking the website of this law firm and doing a news search for stories about the firm, you could also create an alert for its name so that you will receive an email every time the firm is mentioned online. As we saw in Chapter 2, potential employers are often impressed by job applicants who are knowledgeable about their organization. 11-4H podcasts. A podcast, sometimes called an audio blog, is an online radio type audio file that the public can download and listen to through a web browser, smartphone, tablet, computer, or on audio devices. Many legal podcasts are available, like, for example, Legal Talk Network, that discuss all aspects of law, including new cases, trends, and hot topics. Podcasts are becoming more and more popular and serve a valuable role in communicating information, especially about the law. Let 11-5 online searching. Most of us use Google a lot. Indeed, we probably feel that we are very good at using this search engine, as well as others, but there are certain techniques we can use to enhance our abilities to search more effectively. To overcome this concern, there are guidelines that can be used to maximize our search skills. The following are search engine SE techniques and ways to assess the reliability of what you find online. 11-5A Search Techniques. Be prepared to try your search on more than one search engine SE. The most widely used SEs today are Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Every SE has its own help section that gives instructions and suggestions on how to use it to search effectively. On the home page of the SE, look for links labeled More Help, How to Search, Advanced Search, etc. If you don't find these links, enter Search Help in each SE, like, for example, Google Search Help, Bing Search Help, Yahoo Search Help. Read this section carefully for every SE you try. This section will have suggested on how to rephrase an unproductive query by narrowing it, like, for example, use more specific search terms in the query, or by broadening it, like, for example, add synonyms to the query. Unfortunately, many researchers do not check this help section. They type in their search terms and quickly abandon the search site if the first page of results is not productive. Unproductive results, however, may be due to a failure of the researcher to take the time to learn how to use the SE. Perform a search for tutorials in any SE. Such tutorials are an additional way for you to become proficient in online searches. Here are some important questions you want answered about every SE you use. Try to answer these questions by checking the SE's help section. 1. How do you search for phrases? Do you need to add quotation marks around phrases, like, for example, capital punishment? 2. How do you search for plurals, like, for example, vehicles or children? Does the SE automatically search for plurals when you enter the singular form of a search term? 3. Does SE have an AND connector? A connector is a character, word, or symbol used to show the relationship between words and phrases in a database query. When your search query has more than one term, like for example, battery, woman? How do you indicate that you want sites that contain all of your terms? Do you add and between the terms, battery and woman? Do you place a plus sign, plus immediately in front of each term, plus battery plus woman? That must appear on the site. Do you use another method? 4. Does the SE have an or connector? How do you express alternative terms in your search query? Do you add or between the terms, like for example, zoning or easement? Or does the SE automatically treat every space between search terms as an or, so that or does not have to be typed? 5. How do you search for synonyms? Is the or connector used? Like for example, divorce or dissolution? 6. Does the SE have a but, not, or an and not connector? Do you tell the SE to avoid specific categories of sites? For example, how do you tell it that you want sites on penicillin for adults only? Do you use the but not connector, penicillin but not child, or the and not connector? Like for example, penicillin and not child. Or do you place a minus sign immediately in front of any term that must not appear, plus penicillin plus adult minus child? 7. If you are not sure how to spell a term, like for example, Geico, can you use a wildcard such as asterisk G asterisk asterisk GO, or quotation mark or exclamation point G exclamation point CO? Recall that a wildcard, also called a universal character, is a special character, like for example, asterisk, exclamation point, or question mark, that can be used to represent one or more characters in a search query. 8. How does the SE treat common words, like for example, a, an, the, and that, sometimes called stop words? If you type them as part of your query, does the search engine ignore them? If you want them included and searched for along with the other words in your query, how is this done? Some SEs require the use of quotation marks around the language. That includes the common words if you want them included. 9. Are searches case sensitive or case insensitive? Will the SE give you the same results if all your search words are in capital letters, gun and theft, in all lowercase letters, gun and theft, or in a combination of capital and lowercase letters, gun and theft? A search is case insensitive if the use of capital letters has no effect on the search results. The search is case sensitive if the results would differ when capital letters were used. In general, passwords and usernames, but not search terms, are case sensitive, although this should be checked in the help section of the SE. 10. Will a search be hindered by a misspelled word? Usually the site will make suggested spelling corrections that it anticipated was meant by the search. Check the suggested corrected search and determine whether what is suggested is correct and click on to that corrected search. If it is not, correct the words so that your search comports to what you are trying to find. Be specific in your use of search terms. For example, if you are looking for attorney fee cases in litigation involving the Ojibwa tribe in Maine, type 1 attorney plus fee plus Ojibwa 1 Maine, or attorney and fee and Ojibwa and Maine. Do not simply type plus attorney plus fee or attorney and fee. Refine your search terms as you continue to search. Some of the early sites you come across may not be what you need, but these sites may suggest new search terms to try. Also, watch for hyperlinks within every site you visit. A less than productive site may allow you to jump to a productive one. If you have more than one search term, type the most important term first. For example, if you are looking for sites on the incompatibility grounds of divorce, your query might be plus divorce 1 incompatibility plus grounds, or divorce and incompatibility and grounds. Once you enter a site, you can often use the find command, like for example Control F or CMD F, to try to find your search terms within the pages of the site. When you need the definition of a legal term, use the powerful definition search feature define, semicolon, available on many SEs. For example, run the following search in Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Define habeas corpus. 11-5B, assessing reliability. Once you have found something online through these techniques, you need to assess its reliability. The saying, "You can't believe everything you read in the newspaper," apply with greater force to what you read online. Because the internet is essentially unregulated, everyone can post whatever they want on the information superhighway. The expensive fee-based sites Westlaw, LexisNexis, and Bloomberg Law are substantially more reliable because of the large editorial staffs they employ. For other sites, here are some general guidelines to keep in mind. Be sensitive to when a site states facts as opposed to opinions. If you find a fact on a site, like for example, a statistic that you want to use in a memo or other writing, look for whatever support the site gives for the fact. Sites that give sources for their facts may be more reliable than those that do not. Sites that give sources for their facts may be more reliable than those that do not. Also, be alert to whether the site is relying on any links to other sites as its source. Go to these linked sites to see if they verify their facts. It is possible for false information to be posted on a site and then republished by dozens of other sites, none of which have independently checked its accuracy. In general, the most reliable free sites are those with government domains. .gov. The reliability of sites with educational institution domains. .edu or association domains.org depends on the quality and reputation of the institution or association. At the bottom of a page on a site, particularly its home page, look for an updated on or last updated date, which will give you an indication of how current the material is. Be extra cautious of sites that do not provide such dates. The data on some sites may be months or even years old without any indication that this is so. Try to find out who owns a site. You can perform a whois database search. Enter the address of the site at
whois.com, domain.com, or godaddy.com, for example. Type in the name of the online site and general information about the ownership of the site will be revealed. The most reliable sites have About Me or About Us links that will provide background information about the authors of the site. This can help you assess reliability. Type the website in the search box of Google, Bing, or Yahoo, rather than in the address box at the top of your browser. This may lead to sites that provide additional information about the site you are checking. If you are on a site with a long address, go to the home page of the site by deleting everything in the address after the site's domain name. You may be given more information about the site on this page. Approach wiki sites with added care. These are sites that allow anyone to add content. They have a collaborative authorship. The most widely used wiki site is the online encyclopedia, wikipedia.org. Hundreds of thousands of people with varying degrees of expertise have written the sections of this encyclopedia. Be hesitant about relying on something found on a wiki site. Although these sites may be helpful in giving you background information as you start your research on a topic that is new to you. The site may also give you links to other sites that are more appropriate for your needs. See Chapter 9 on doing background research to get the big picture. Let's take one last look at our facts from the beginning of the chapter. Performing general searches for PowerPoint presentations or settlement brochures is helpful and a necessary starting point. Once you have guidance on how to use PowerPoint, for example, search for images that show what the PowerPoint would look like in the order of the presentation. For your first PowerPoint assignment, you do not have to be fancy. Simply convey the information in a methodical and logical fashion. Get a first draft completed for review. Remember, it can be edited after the initial review. 11-5C, Factual and Legal Research Online. Factual and legal-based research was extensively discussed in Chapter 9. The main fee-based legal research sites are Westlaw, LexisNexis, Bloomberg Law, and FastCase. Other free and fee-based factual and legal research sites online are also highlighted in Chapter 9. 11-6, Security Online. 11-6A. Confidentiality. Confidentiality. In a law office, many clients often communicate with attorneys, paralegals, and secretaries by email. Almost all of these clients' communications contain confidential communications that might be read by strangers, such as hackers and administrators of network servers. The cautious law office, therefore, will obtain explicit consent from the client to communicate by email after reminding the client that security online cannot be guaranteed. As an added precaution, email messages can be encrypted, which converts the messages into a code that renders the message data incomprehensible until the messages are reconverted to a readable format by a client or other authorized recipient. For more on the ethical use of email, see Chapter 6. 11-6B, Spam. Spam consists of unsolicited email messages, often containing commercial, advertising, junk mail. Most computers have spam filters that try to Most computers have spam filters that try to identify spam so that it can be diverted to a junk folder and eventually deleted with relative ease. Watch for spam email, and if you suspect it is spam, either contact your IT information technology department or immediately delete it. Spam can infect an entire computer system with a virus, so be cautious about opening emails that you suspect are spam. Technology updates. Client security and virtual assistants. Maintaining the confidences of clients and their information is critical for legal professionals. Information technology, IT professionals have numerous weapons that they can install to guard against security breaches. However, what if a commonly used device in many homes may be a secret eavesdropping weapon that is surreptitiously culling information and using it? Think Alexa and Google Assistant. Yes, your friendly, innocuous virtual assistant is taking information and listening to what goes on in the privacy of your home and office. Are devices such as Alexa and Google Assistant permitted in the legal environment? What harm can Alexa or Google Assistant do in the legal setting? Aren't such devices supposed to improve one's life? What if private conversations in the home or office are recorded and inadvertently picked up by an unfriendly third party? Alexa and the like are virtual assistants that are activated usually by the sound of someone's voice. The virtual assistant is in constant waiting mode, waiting for the command to wake and do whatever task it is asked to do. The speech-activated device records information and tasks that are stored in a cloud, usually housed by the company of origin. What many may not consider is the common issue of the virtual assistant hearing a wake command and thus beginning to record information when no command was given. Again, seemingly innocuous, but may be an invasion of your privacy or those in your presence. That is why many law firms forbid virtual assistants in the workplace. The concern is the inadvertent recording of information and transfer of that information to those who should not be exposed to that information. Why is this important? Have you ever thought about how companies such as Amazon, Google, and Apple improve their technology? They hire people to listen to your information to better serve the customer's needs and preferences. On the surface, that seems fine, except when the virtual assistants record things they should not or was not intended for recording, such as the recording of a crime or private information that is not intended to be shared. Thus, virtual assistants such as Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, and Cortana are inherent risks when used in certain settings. That is why using these types of virtual assistants in the legal setting is usually forbidden or is limited. Think about how many times you have asked Siri a question on your iPhone. Managing the issue of virtual assistants is important, as is knowing your employer's policy on the use of virtual assistants in the workplace. Given that confidentiality is a cornerstone in the legal profession, knowing the pros and cons of using virtual assistants is important. Knowing the consequences of their use also is important in the legal setting, even if that use is unintended. Be aware of your surroundings and the devices around you. Stay away from using virtual assistants in the legal environment to avoid unintended consequences. 11-6C Malware. Malware, short for malicious software, is software that seeks to disable, disrupt, or otherwise damage computers. In addition, malware can be a major way to commit identity theft. Which is the acquisition and use or attempted acquisition and use of another person's private identifying information with the intent to commit any unlawful activity. Of course, identity theft can be committed without malware, such as by stealing and using someone's credit cards. Examples of malware: adware sends advertising, like for example pop-ups, may contain spyware. Bot, short for robot, allows someone to take over your computer. Large numbers of infected computers called zombies can then be activated for malicious purposes such as sending spam, phishing, and making denial of service attacks against a website, which must shut down because of the overwhelming traffic generated by the zombies. A denial of service attack floods a site with bogus traffic. Chargeware charges a fee to the user's account without the user's knowledge or consent. Key logging tracks and stores keystrokes you press on your keyboard when typing passwords, credit card numbers, etc., a form of spyware. Phishing fraudulently attempts to obtain personal information by tricking the recipient of an email message into believing that the sender seeking the information is legitimate. Ransomware freezes a computer system and demands a payment ransom to restore the system. Ratware automates email spam for mass mailings. Rootkit installs itself remotely on a computer to gain access to the programs and data on the computer. Spyware monitors, spies on the user's movement online, usually for purposes of advertising. Trojans masquerades as legitimate programs and, when activated, can destroy data, send spam, etc. Virus inserts itself into and becomes a part of a computer. It can spread to and thereby infect other computers. The virus can look for passwords or other personal information, send spam, delete data, cause denial of service attacks, etc. Worm sends a copy of itself, self-replicates to everyone in your address book so that it appears that the messages come from you. The virus can then find passwords or other personal information, send spam, delete data, etc. Preventing malware. Install anti-malware software. Install firewalls. A firewall is a security program for computers on a network that allows incoming data to determine whether the data should be allowed into the network based on predetermined rules or criteria on what can be trusted. It essentially stops or limits the information from getting through the network. Keep anti-malware software and firewalls up to date in order to protect against newly created malware. Regularly download updates of the operating system, OS, like for example Windows, and applications like for example Microsoft Word. The updates, often called patches, may fix security bugs or flaws. Encrypt email that is sent from the office. Use great care when opening email attachments. They can contain malware. The email may appear to come from someone you know because that person's address list has been captured by a hacker. If you are not expecting an attachment, do not open it without running it through a malware detection program or contacting the sender to confirm that this person has sent you an email with an attachment. Hence, the safest guideline to follow on attachments is as follows. Don't click them open unless 1. You know the sender, and 2. You are expecting the attachment. Quick tip: most IT departments have protective measures in place to protect against attacks to their technology systems. Know what systems are in place and communicate with your IT department if you suspect anything suspicious on your computer or any device. Cookies. A cookie is a small text file that a website inserts on your computer when you visit the site with your browser, giving the site giving the site information about your browsing visit. For example, if you entered your email address on a visit, the next time you visit the site, the address will be remembered via the cookie so that you do not have to retype it. For many sites, the cookie will follow you even if you do not enter anything in the site. Suppose, for example, that you click on the site of a Hilton hotel in Boston, but leave before doing anything other than reading the site's general information on the hotel. Don't be surprised to find an ad for the Boston Hilton on a news site or a sports site that you visit days later when you have long forgotten about a hotel in Boston. In general, cookies do not spread viruses or other malware. Yet the cookies make some people uncomfortable because of the information they contain about sites they visit. To erase cookies or to stop them from being inserted on your computer, go to the Help or Settings page of your browser and read about your options on cookies. Computer viruses. One of the main protections that are created to protect the data and information are antivirus programs. A computer virus is a program that attacks a computer system, wreaking havoc on the system by destroying or meddling with the data within that system. Some viruses are more onerous than others and range from minor issues to complete shutdown. Ways to combat viruses on any computer system is to invest in an antivirus program such as Norton, McAfee, and others available in the marketplace. More than likely, if you are on the firm's system, they have antivirus protection among other protections to guard against infiltrations of a computer system. If you are working on a home computer doing office work, be sure your computer is protected with the necessary software. You don't want to corrupt any office material or data. 11-7 Ethical Issues, Chapter 6 extensively discussed many of the ethical issues involved in the use of computers in a law office. It is worth reiterating some of those issues, such as the following. Incompetence. It is unethical to fail to keep current on computer technology to the extent needed to provide competent client representation. Deception. It is unethical to misrepresent your identity in order to obtain information online that pertains to a client's case. Avoid pretexting. Breach of confidentiality. It can be unethical to send documents without removing metadata that can contain confidential information. Other ethical concerns. Inadvertently establishing an attorney-client relationship. This can occur when a person contacts a website that does not have adequate disclaimers that the contact does not create an attorney-client relationship. Failing to provide adequate supervision of people performing outsourced work online. Improperly attempting to gain social media information by misrepresenting yourself. Ethical issues arise when using technology. Never assume that what you do online will not be discovered. In fact, assume otherwise. Keeping your ethical obligations in the forefront when using computers and technology cannot be overstated. By doing so, your integrity as a legal professional will be maintained and, in turn, keep you out of ethical trouble. Real-world perspectives. On the job observations, this chapter has focused on the main computer skills that paralegals will undertake in the law office setting. As our next paralegal tells us, working in the legal environment requires multitasking, including knowing a myriad of computer skills. A good paralegal litigation manager in a large document case has both strong paralegal skills and strong management skills. Such a manager must be able to analyze the case's organizational needs, develop methods to cope with them effectively, and often must act as paralegal, office manager, and computer expert. All in a day's work. Kaufman, the litigation manager, 6 legal professional, 55. As our next paralegal perspective reminds us, our computer skills are not limited to the office. For those who work for international companies, having adaptable computer skills is important. Here, a paralegal's computer prowess was tested in the field. The company I work for is a major worldwide producer of chemicals. I recently had to obtain some technical information about the computer system at a hotel in a foreign country in order to set up documents on a disk that would be compatible with the computer system in that country before one of the attorneys went there for contract negotiations. One of the most thrilling experiences I have had since working for the company was that of working on the closing of a leveraged buyout of a portion of our business in Delaware. To experience firsthand the intensity of the negotiating table, the numerous last-minute changes to documents, the multitudinous shuffle of papers, and the late, grueling hours was both exhausting and exhilarating. Grove scenes from a corporate law department, the Paraview 2 Metrolina Paralegal Association. Chapter Review 11-8A Chapter Summary. Introduction. The computer plays a major role in the practice of law. You need to take every opportunity to learn as much as you can about computers and develop your skills in that area. What to do on your own now. Start compiling a notebook of computer terminology. Take online tutorials. Take short-term computer courses available in the community. Attend computer events at paralegal and bar associations, etc. These actions will assist in being better prepared as a paralegal and make you more marketable in the job market. Review of the basics. 1. Hardware is the physical equipment of a computer system. Software is a basic computer program that tells the hardware what to do. The two main categories of software are operating software OS and application software apps. The OS is a program that tells the computer how to perform its major functions, such as starting, executing programs, managing its memory, and controlling printers and other attached devices. An app is software that performs tasks commonly needed by the consumer or end user, such as word processing. The central processing unit, CPU, is the hardware that contains the processor chip, which in turn controls all of the computer's parts. Mobile devices with wireless communication features such as smartphones and tablet computers allow users to work from remote locations. 2. The two main kinds of memory are read-only memory, ROM, ROM, and random access memory, RAM, RAM. Data in memory are measured in bytes. 3. Storage devices with read and write capability allow users to read the data on the device and write additional data on the device. You cannot write data on a read-only device. Major storage devices include hard drives, removable drives, magnetic tape systems, optical storage devices, and the cloud. 4. Input devices that place information in a computer include the keyboard, the mouse, speech recognition programs, and scanners. The main output devices are monitors, printers, including 3D printers, and sound cards. 5. A modem is a communications device that allows computers at different locations to exchange data using telephone lines, cables, or wireless connections. Computers can be connected by a local area network, LAN, if they are relatively close to each other, or by a wide area network, WAN, if they are not close. 6. An intranet is a private network of computers for the sharing of data, software, and services within the organizations using features similar to those of the internet web. An extranet is the part of an intranet to which selected outsiders, like for example clients, have been given access. 7. A word processor is a software program that allows you to enter and edit data in order to create and revise documents. Special formatting features and shortcuts using macros make the creation of documents relatively easy. Macros are used for repetitive computer tasks. The main word processing software are Microsoft Word and Corel WordPerfect. Understanding how to convert files into PDFs is particularly important when e-filing documents with a court. 8. A spreadsheet is a software program that performs calculations on numbers and values that you enter. It is useful particularly when preparing structured elements. 9. Database management software allows you to organize, search, retrieve, and sort data. Presentation graphics software can combine text with charts, graphs, pictures, video, clip art, and sound in order to communicate data effectively. Litigation support software can store, retrieve, and track facts, documents, testimony, and other litigation documents. Case management software combines multiple tasks in the control and management of a case. The tasks include calendaring, document control, document assembly, document tracking, and billing. 10. Knowledge management (KM). Software helps a law office capture and reuse its knowledge and work product generated from prior cases. This is extremely useful in the creation of brief banks. Introduction to the Internet. 1. The Internet is a worldwide network of networks on which millions of computer users share information. The hypertext features of the Internet web allow relatively easy access to a vast quantity of data. Websites are created as a URL uniform resource locator. Each part of a website provides critical information in locating a site. 2. Personal communication among users often occurs through email and instant messaging (IM). Electronic mailing lists manage computer mailing lists so that members of the list can receive and send messages and read what other members send to each other. The lists can be a useful way to keep current on specialty topics. Social media allows interaction with and among users through comments, votes, uploads, and the like. Categories of social media include social networking, collaborative sites, blogs, and blogs, microblogs, social photo and video sharing, news networking, social bookmarking, ratings and reviews, and virtual worlds. 3. Alerts notify you of new content on topic of interest that you identify. A podcast is an online audio file that the public can download and listen to through a browser or on devices such as a smartphone, tablet, or computer. Online searching. The major online search tool is the search engine. Check its help feature to identify its unique search techniques. Learn how a search engine handles phrases, plurals, connectors, synonyms, wildcards, stop words, case sensitivity, find commands, and definitions. Once you have found something online, you must assess its reliability. Security online. 1. Keeping clients' information safe and confidential when communicating through online is essential in the practice of law. Send emails or communications by encryption to avoid interception by individuals who should not be privy to the communication. 2. Malware is software that seeks to disable, disrupt, or otherwise damage computers. Examples of malware include adware, chargeware, keylogging, phishing, ransomware, ratware, rootkits, spyware, trojans, viruses, and worms. To prevent malware, install and keep current anti-malware software and firewalls. Update operating software and application software, encrypt email, and exert great care in opening attachments. Ethical issues. Ethical problems in the use of computers include incompetence, deception, improper sharing of metadata, inadvertent establishment of an attorney-client relationship, and failure to provide adequate supervision of people performing outsourced work. Pay close attention to ethical considerations online so not to compromise professional integrity or professional responsibilities. Chapter Review 11-8B Key Terms: Hardware, Software, Central Processing Unit, CPU, Operating Software, OS, Application, App, APP, Read-Only Memory, ROM, ROM, Random Access Memory, RAM, Bytes, Hard Drive, Optical Storage Devices, Cloud, Scanner, Imaging, Modem, Local Area Network, LAN, Wide Area Network, WAN, Extranet, Word Processor, Macros, Spreadsheet, Structured Settlement, Database Management, Presentation Graphics, Litigation Support, Full Text Search, Abstract, Predictive Coding, Case Management, Default Judgment, Brief Bank, Knowledge Management, KM, Network, Internet Service Provider, ISP, Hypertext, Web Browser, Uniform Resource Locator, URL, Server, Litigation Hold, Instant Messaging, IM, Electronic Mailing List, Podcasts, Hackers, Spam, Malware, Identity Theft, Firewalls, Cookie, Outsourced. Chapter Review 11-8C Review Questions. 1. What are some of the computer questions you may be asked about during an employment interview? 2. Distinguish between hardware and software. 3. What is the function of the CPU? 4. Distinguish between operating software or system, OS, and application software. 5. What are the major operating systems in use today? 6. What is the distinction between the two major kinds of memory, ROM and RAM, ROM and RAM? 7. What are the main storage devices and the main input devices? 8. What is the cloud? 9. Distinguish between an intranet and an extranet. 10. List some of the major kinds of software used in a law office. 11. What is the function of A. Database management software, B. Presentation graphics software, C. Litigation support software, and D. Case management software. 12. What are the components of a URL address? 13. What are some of the major techniques for searching online, and how can you assess the reliability of data found online? 14. What is malware? Identify 3 examples. What steps should be taken to protect against malware? 15. What are some major examples of ethics violations that can arise when using computers in a law office? Chapter Review 11-8D Assignments. Critical Analysis 11.1 A. What are some of the ethical concerns of storing information in the cloud? B. Why are some attorneys reluctant to store client information in the cloud? Is this reluctance justified? C. Using a search engine, identify articles that discuss the ethical concerns of storing and using the cloud in a law practice. In the computer terminology in the law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1, include information you obtained by doing parts A, B, and C. Projects 11.2 Search in Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Legal technology trends AAAA. Substitute the current year for AAAA. Write a memorandum to your instructor in which you discuss trends for this year. You must cite at least 5 different websites, only one of which can be the site of a law firm. Be specific on how the trend may affect the practice of law. In the computer terminology in the law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1, include information you obtained by doing this assignment. 11.3 Go to howstuffworks.com and select the tech category. Pick any 5 topics about computer hardware or software about which you are unfamiliar. Prepare a summary of what you learned about each topic. In the computer terminology in the law CTL notebook,
You started in Chapter 1. Include information you obtain by doing this assignment. 11.4. Make a list of computer topics that you believe you need to learn more about. Be specific in the list. Some of the topics will probably involve doing something at the computer, like, for example, writing a macro. All of the topics will involve learning terminology associated with the topic, like, for example, macro, word processor, Excel. Assume that you want to learn all of the terminology in the next 6 months. Write a plan for doing so. By what dates will you complete the learning of the terminology of what topics? Write a target calendar. You do not have to write all the terms that you will learn. Just write the topics for your plan. Chapter Review 11-8E. Core Skills Assignments. Core Skill Writing. 11.5. Select a word processing system to which you have access. If you don't already have one on your computer, use one of the free word processors online. Search in Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Free alternative, Microsoft Word. Write 2 paragraphs on this word processing system. Use 5 features of this system program that you have not used before and that you did not know about. What are the 5 features? Explain how you use them to write your 2 paragraphs in the computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1. Include information you obtained by doing this assignment. Core Skill Research. 11.6. In Google, Bing, or Yahoo search mobile attorney, virtual attorney, or telecommuting attorney. Prepare a memorandum to your instructor in which you describe the different ways in which technology allows attorneys to be mobile and virtual. Indicate the major difficulties of such mobility, including ethical considerations. Your memorandum must cite at least 3 different websites, one of which you obtained from the articles database of Google Scholar, scholar.google.com, and the computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1. Include information you obtain by doing this assignment. Core Skill Ethics. 11.7a. The law firm where you work has been hacked by outside sources. Confidential information has been compromised. Research what options the attorney has in protecting the confidential information of the client. Are there any software solutions to assist in assuring that this type of situation does not occur in the future? What are those solutions? B. Your supervising attorney has advised you that we must share information about a client's case with the opposing counsel. What are the ethical concerns that must be addressed and protected? What are the ways in which the information can be transferred securely? Research this area and prepare a memorandum for the supervising attorney detailing the most secure methods to transfer the information. Computer Skills. Computers. 11.8. A. You are currently working for a small boutique firm that specializes in entertainment law. They have a vast database of contracts, confidentiality agreements, and pleadings from its past and present cases. However, there is no one place where the information is organized in a searchable form. One of the partners has heard of knowledge management and wants more information on the topic. They believe that there are software programs and internal controls that can be created to maximize its past, current, and future information. This will streamline many processes within the firm. You have been tasked with researching the topic and giving a PowerPoint presentation on the topic for one of the firm's in-house CLE sessions. You have never prepared a PowerPoint presentation and must quickly learn how to create one.
research how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation and identify all the steps you took to learn how to prepare it. Outline how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation and place in your computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook. B. Once you have determined the steps to prepare the PowerPoint presentation, research what systems should be put in place for a knowledge management system within the firm. Suggest protocols that can be created and include any software systems that may assist the firm in starting this project. In the computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1, include information you obtain by doing this assignment. Core skill collaboration. 11.9. In Google, Bing, or Yahoo search, Google Docs, Google Drive, also search in the search box of YouTube. Explain how Google Docs and Google Drive can be used to collaborate with others. Assume that 5 people have been working on a contract. How would they work together on this contract using Google Docs or Google Drive? Are there any other sites that perform the same functions as Google Docs and Google Drive? If so, identify those sites and explain why they are an alternative that is secure and safe. In the computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1, include information you obtain by doing this assignment. The job search. 11.10. Assume that you wanted to add a computer certification to your resume. A. What are the programs in Microsoft Office to assist in accomplishing this goal? What are the steps in becoming certified in Microsoft Office? In the computer terminology in the Law CTL notebook you started in Chapter 1, include information you obtain by doing this assignment. Chapter Review. 11-8F. Portfolio Binder Assignment. The firm is looking to update its case management system and wants you to investigate the most efficient and reliable systems. The firm is comprised of less than 25 attorneys and 5 paralegals. The firm specializes in personal injury cases focusing on plaintiffs' matters. They are particularly concerned about calendaring court dates and deadlines. Additionally, the firm wants to create a system that stores all briefs and pleadings from its cases so that others can review in preparing their legal documents. The firm would like a minimum of 3 case management systems to review, but not more than 5. Prepare the memorandum to the managing partner of the firm regarding your findings of the top case management systems. To review based on the criteria presented, add any additional components the firm should consider in making its decision. Place in your portfolio binder. Hardware. The physical equipment of a computer system. Software. A computer program that tells or instructs the hardware what to do. Central Processing Unit, CPU. The hardware of the computer that contains the processor chip that controls all computer parts. Central Processing Unit. Operating software, OS. Software that tells the computer how to perform its major functions, such as starting, executing programs, managing its memory, and controlling printers and other attached devices, peripherals, also called operating system. Application, app. Software that performs tasks for an end user other than the major tasks of running the computer itself. The most commonly used apps today are downloaded on mobile devices. Read-only memory, ROM, ROM. Memory that stores data that cannot be altered, removed, or added to. The data can be only read by the computer. Random access memory, RAM, RAM. Memory that stores temporary data that are erased unless properly saved whenever the computer's power is turned off. Bytes. The storage equivalent of one space or one character of the alphabet typed into a computer. Hard drive. A computer storage device for data that uses rapidly rotating platters inside a sealed casing, also called hard disk drive. Optical storage device. A device that uses laser light or beams to write data on plastic discs. Examples include CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs. Cloud. The part of the internet where users can A, obtain updated programs, apps, and B, read, store, and manage data. Scanner. An input device that converts text and images into an electronic or digital format that a computer can recognize. Imaging. The process by which a scanner digitizes text or images, also called document imaging. Modem. Connections. Local Area Network, LAN. A multi-user system linking computers that are in close proximity to each other so that they can share data and resources. Wide Area Network, WAN. A multi-user system linking computers over a large geographical area so that they can share data and resources. Extranet. The part of an internet to which selected outsiders have been given access. Word processor. Software that allows you to enter and edit data in order to create and revise documents. It processes words, allowing you to write sentences, paragraphs, and pages on the computer. Macros. Repetitive tasks.
spreadsheet. Software that performs calculations on numbers and values that you enter. Structured settlements. An agreement in which a party fulfills a financial obligation to the first after the payment of damages by making periodic payments until designated periods. These payments are sometimes annual. Database management. Software that allows you to organize, search, retrieve, and sort data. Presentation graphics. Software used to combine text with charts, graphs, pictures, video, clip art, and sound in order to communicate data more effectively. Litigation support. Software that stores, retrieves, and tracks facts, documents, testimony, and other litigation materials. Full text search. A search of every word in every document in a database. Abstracts. A summary or abridgment. Predictive coding. A method of training software to find data that meet defined parameters. Case management. Software that combines multiple tasks in the control and management of a case. The tasks often include calendaring, document control, document assembly, document tracking, and billing. Default judgment. A judgment against a party for failure to file a required pleading or otherwise respond to an opponent's claim. Knowledge management. A productivity program for capturing and reusing the knowledge and work product of a law office. Knowledge management, KM, is a system of linking into the knowledge base of a law office, embodied in the documents generated by all of the cases it has handled, so that it can better meet the needs of current and prospective clients. Knowledge management, KM, is a system of linking into the knowledge base of a law office, embodied in the documents generated by all of the cases it has handled, so that it can better meet the needs of current and prospective clients. Network. 1. A group of computers that are linked or connected together by telephone lines, fiber optic cables, satellites, or other systems. 2. Interconnected people or things. Internet Service Provider, ISP. A company that provides access to the internet, usually for a monthly fee. Hypertext. A method of displaying and linking information found in different locations on the same site or on different sites online. Web browser. A program that allows you to read pages online. Uniform Resource Locator, URL. The address of a resource or any page online. Server. 1. A computer program that provides resources or services to other computers. 2. A system that manages resources on a network. 3. A computer that processes requests. Litigation hold. A notice that a legal dispute has occurred and that information pertinent to the dispute must be preserved by the person or organization in possession or custody of such information. The failure to do so may result in sanctions for spoliation. Instant messaging, IM. Electronic communication in real time. Electronic mailing list. A program that manages computer mailing lists so that members of the list can receive and send messages and read what other members send to each other, also called e-list, mail list, email list, listserv. Podcast. An online audio file that the public can download and listen to through a browser or on devices such as smartphones, computers, or tablets, also called an audio blog. Hackers. Those who gains or seeks to gain unauthorized access to computer data. Spam. Unsolicited email messages, often consisting of commercial advertising, unsolicited junk mail. Malware. Software that seeks to disable, disrupt, or otherwise damage computers. Examples: virus, Trojan horse. Identity theft. Acquiring and using, or attempting to acquire and use another person's private identifying information with the intent to commit any unlawful activity. Firewalls. Security programs for computers on a network that analyze incoming data to determine whether the data should be allowed into the network based on predetermined rules or criteria on what can be trusted. Cookie. A small text file that a website inserts on your computer when you visit the site with your browser, giving the site information about your browsing visit. Outsourced. Paying an outside company or service to perform tasks usually performed by one's employees. Abstract. A summary or abridgment.